Adam Johnson, another insurrectionist of Adam Kinzinger's ire, who was also deplatformed. And, I'm making jokes. Guys, Adam Johnson, lectern guy, the man who stole Nancy Pelosi's lectern to pose with it for a few pictures in video that was withheld from him for years, put through hell, locked up in solitary, has become a very close friend, actually, one of my best friends out here that I've met in the last 5 years.
I feel the same.
No, dude, it's amazing. Kindred spirits, and it's just by the grace of the way the world turns that we ended up meeting each other. You're following her story rather closely these days because it has personal interest to you. The crowd's going to know, but
yes,
I'll let you unravel it for them.
So my initial prosecutor, Patrick Scruggs, when I first got arrested, he was my initial prosecutor who called me a threat to my community for smiling and waving. There were no violent charges that were brought against me. He gave me an ankle monitor, a nightly curfew, and random drug tests. Could not leave the Middle District of Florida. All my guns were confiscated. Everything was just taken. This man was on the Howard Franklin on video. This was September, I want to say 26th, 2023. Caught stabbing a motorist after breaking out his window. So there's the video of it.
It's pixelated. People, you can't see anything. Just understand he's got like a 1.5 inch, pocket knife, and he's stabbing somebody who had either a medical emergency or was intoxicated at the wheel. Sorry, go on, Evan. It's just
one or the other. Yes. So I've been at all of his hearings. I've been to all the court dates, and it's got a lot of twists and turns. And where they're landing now is they're having a motion to dismiss based on stand your ground and self-defense. They are saying that because the motorist appeared to be intoxicated, that Patrick was within his rights to subdue this man by any means necessary, including force. That is what they are saying. At the hearing today, the state came to slay. They did such a great job. There were multiple witnesses that gave such good testimony, video accounts, and answered the questions very clearly. The defense had a very hard time trying to slip them up and make them say things that would help them. All in all, I feel very confident that it's going to go in the direction that I think justice is, where this man should not be given the motion to dismiss.
So, and let me say this as a sick joke. When this initially happened, I don't know if I was the first one to say it, but I said, Adam, he's going to claim self-defense. Like the guy was coming at me and he wasn't getting out of the car, or he wasn't taking the keys out of the car. And I needed to stab him into compliance. I mean, it's so bad. I needed to stab him into subduance. I don't even know if that's a word. But he literally made that argument. I went over his he said the guy was drunk. The guy has a history of being drunk, whatever. I told him to take the keys out of the ignition. He refused to do it. And therefore, I literally stabbed him into submission and said, you stay here or you get another stabbing. And then he went back to the car. What would some of the other witnesses, from what you mentioned and from what I know, said that he threatened to stab them as well? Or at least...
Yes. So the initial motorist, his name was Ahmed. Very broken English, had a hard time understanding him in court. Actually not a great, reliable witness for either side. But this man approached initially to help the man who was slumped over in his vehicle. The guy was not getting up. When he did finally get up after he was banging on the window, he proceeded to drive his car forward and then hit Patrick's car. At this point, the victim's car is now wedged in between two vehicles. He cannot leave. And part of the testimony that came from a state trooper said exactly that. This vehicle was incapacitated. It could not flee the scene. There was a third vehicle that came around and blocked it as well. So there was no threat of this man leaving the scene whatsoever.
So I don't want to...
The man that approached him, Ahmed, go ahead.
I just don't want to show the stabbing more than I have to, but just to illustrate that there's cars in front of him, cars behind him, short of the guy who just had either a medical emergency or, passed out, short of him jumping off the bridge, he's not going anywhere in the vehicle and probably even less on foot.
That is completely true. And you can see the video is very clear. There are videos from both angles. There are videos that are online and videos that are in court. And the other angles that were taken, there's no way this man could have left in any way, shape, or form. Patrick even admitted that he left the car with his knife with the intention of breaking the window, which he then did. So he left with the intention of entering someone else's property, which is not self-defense. You cannot leave your vehicle and then enter someone else's vehicle. This is also why he was charged with, I want to say it was armed burglary.
This is in front of a judge because it's a preliminary motion, so there's no jury for this. But are you who's the judge? If not by name, is it a man, a woman, middle aged, old? Who's the
It's
judge?
a older white male, probably in his late 50s, and he's taking no guff.
Okay.
There was a couple of points where the defense was trying to lead the witness, and the state objected, had to object 3 times, and the judge got annoyed at the end of it. And every single time he tried to do this has already been sustained. We need to move on. So the defense is doing the best they can to try to navigate these witnesses to say things that are helpful, because that's what they're going to do. But the judge isn't hearing it.
The evidence thus far, I mean, does it even matter? But the evidence thus far as to the mental state of the victim, like was it that whether or not it was a medical emergency or drug related, has that been brought into evidence?
There is no evidence of this. Everything is speculation. We have Patrick saying that he believed he was intoxicated. Ahmed said he believed that he was intoxicated. There was a 911 phone call, but there was no breathalyzer done on the scene. There were no drug and urinalysis done in the hospital. And if you bring in a victim who is bleeding profusely and you need to give him medications like painkillers, things like this to subdue the pain, you're going to do a drug analysis on them to make sure that those drugs don't interact with whatever might be in his system. This is protocol. So no one at the hospital saw this man as intoxicated. So there is no actual physical evidence other than people saying, I think he may have been drunk.
Well, if you're having a medical emergency, what is the official or the current narrative for what his medical emergency was? Was it epilepsy or something?
So Patrick said in his filings, a statement that he was having a diabetic episode. In the hospital, they checked his blood sugars, and his blood sugars were fine, and he has no history of diabetes and having diabetic episodes. So if we're being honest about it, there is probably a good chance he was intoxicated, but it's all speculation. There's no evidence that can be presented that he actually was.
And the charges are aggravated battery with a deadly weapon, aggravated assault, armed burglary. Also referred to as burglary of an occupied conveyance. What is the guy there? Scruggs is in court there.
He is. I had to leave early. My son had an accident and opened up his finger with an X-Acto knife in school, so I'm going home to put a stitch in.
This is why I hate knives. I hate X-Acto blades. When we were kids, there was a kid who was like cutting boxes, throwing it up in the air, and then cutting the box with the blade. And when I was a kid, well, he ended up cutting his finger. I used to throw up cucumbers and chop them in half in the air like an Iron Chef. Except I caught my finger in it. You can't really see it now. And then the flap of skin, because I'm an idiot, because boys are idiots. I say, well, I'll just cut the flap of skin off. And then when I go to the hospital, I say, well, we can't seal this. Where's the skin? And I'm like, oh, okay. It bled for 3 days. It was so. I hope your kid's all right. But you're making eye contact with this guy who wanted to put you away for a long time.
Yes, absolutely. He knows that I'm there. Actually, 2 of the witnesses there actually follow me on Twitter, so it was a whole it was a whole thing. I didn't speak with them in a very long way because I don't want to interfere with any of the process, But I told them, thanks for being here and telling the truth.
Amazing. So, did the hearing, or does the hearing end today? Does it continue tomorrow? And did they?
I believe they're going to get. It's almost 5:00, and they just brought out Blake. Blake is currently serving 2 years, so they brought him from jail to come on the stand and testify.
Who's Blake?
Blake is the victim in this. Blake Sharp.
Oh, shut up! Why is he in jail?
No, he was on probation. For I believe it was substance abuse, and a few months after this happened, they brought him in and he failed a drug urinalysis. So in the state of Florida, it's a mandatory year sentence if you violate probation, VVOP, and then whatever charges he initially had brought against him, he was sentenced for that as well.
What was the word you used? He failed a what?
Drug urinalysis. So they
drug urinalysis.
Test your pee.
Okay. I thought he said a jugger analysis. I was like, what is that? That's
Florida's a weird place. We do weird things here.
No, so meanwhile, the victim's in jail for 2 years. They have to take him out of jail to come testify against the prosecutor who stabbed. And oh my goodness, this is wild. So they're not.
This is a tangled web.
Oh Lordy, are you going back tomorrow?
I'm actually flying out tonight to Tennessee for my anniversary. My wife was very, very kind. We were supposed to leave this morning. I'm like, I have to be at this hearing. So we booked later flights tonight.
How many years have you been married for now?
14.
Shut the front. 14 years. How long were you dating before you got married?
Oh, we were married within, gosh, I want to say 6 months.
Okay, that's very nice. 14 years. I know I've asked you this, Adam, but how old are you?
I am 40 years old now.
Oh my goodness, you're a baby. Okay. So that's amazing. Well, we'll follow this if and when I will see if it's a ruling on the bench. But you'll be following this. You'll keep me up to date, and we're
Absolutely.
gonna come back to this. It's incredible, people, that the guy prosecuting the Jan Sixers. How long did he want to? First of all, what bail conditions did he want to impose on you?
So I believe it's been a long time. It was a $25,000 cashless bond. Okay. So we had to put him up for it. It was just, I couldn't leave the state of Florida. I had nightly curfews. I had an ankle monitor. I had to report every morning, every night. And then anytime they wanted me to pee in a cup, I had to show up.
Shut up. Were you allowed drinking alcohol?
Yes.
Okay, fine.
Yes. I would have fled the country. They took that away.
I was going to say small miracles. Like hard drugs, most people can do without, but a sweet Bowmore 16. Holy cows.
Exactly.
All right, man.
Have you had the 15, the darkest?
No.
But you should look into that. Bowmore 15-year. It's called the darkest. I want to say it's a. Is it a rye blend? It might be. I want to say.
What's the one?
It's delicious.
Well, the best one. I love Lafroig and Lagavulin more, but how do you spell the Ochtosian Scotch? The best Scotch I ever tasted was.
Oh yeah, that's a lowland, isn't it?
It is. Let me see here. Auchentoshan. It was the Auchentoshan 21. I went to a wedding and they had Auchentoshan 21. Yeah, it's $270 a bottle. That's after years of inflation, but it was it was the absolute best Scotch I'd ever tasted in my life.
Well, when you come over to the West Coast, I'll pop open some Yamazaki for us. I can change your mind.
I'll be there tonight. I'll see you. Cancel the anniversary. All right, man, Adam. So we'll keep in touch. Obviously, I'll message you afterwards. But we shall do the part 2, whatever the follow up on this when there's a ruling on. Well, just to put the bow in it, this is to dismiss the charges on the basis of self defense. If this does not get dismissed, he proceeds to trial on the 3 charges that we enumerated.
Yes, and from what I'm seeing today, the judge is not going to grant this. I can't. You cannot hear the testimony that was given and say, yeah, you know what, we'll let him go.
You can't look at that video like stay. Like there's no way to look at that video. It actually, and I think, well, he's not going to render the conviction, but like I'm bringing that up. I don't know if you're allowed to in front of the jury. The audacity to try to get the charges dismissed based on. That goes to the criminal element of the guy's mind. That now he's trying to like cover it up and use the most disingenuous arguments to get the charges tossed.
The most damning part of the video is he didn't just stab him on one instance. He stabbed him, walked away, and then walked back to stab him again. This is not self-defense.
The crazy thing is you can understand how people can shoot somebody because it's instantaneous and all the damage is done. To stab and like to put iron or whatever, steel through human flesh, you've got to be fucked up to even be capable of doing that. Not just to an animal, to a fish. Like, gosh, whatever. Okay. Dude, happy anniversary, and we'll talk after.
You got it. Have a good day.
Godspeed. That is phenomenal. That's the Patrick Scruggs update, everybody. Exclusive from the lectern guy himself, who's got a personal vendetta. It's not even a vendetta. It is the pursuit of justice against the man who imposed a radical, wild injustice on a man who I have grown to know, who is a genuinely, sincerely good person.